drilled down the horizontal, and they drilled it into the Corman zone, which they were trying to make a nice well there. That's the they set casing to 7,900 feet, and 7-inch casing, by the way, and then they had surface casing to 604 feet depth. The well directly south of it is Bird drilled that well. That's called the Bird Dietrich 13-3 well. That was spud in January of 1985. And P&A plugged and abandoned in July of '86. That was a dry hole. The total depth, TD, was 7,815 feet. And then to the southwest, in section 14, in the southeast, northeast of section 14, Bird Oil Corp drilled another well called the Bird Houston 14-8. That was spud in June of '88, June 3rd, and then P&A June 24th of '88. That was a dry hole. And the total depth on that well was 7,872 feet. Going north into section 12, there's a well in the southwest of the northeast of 12. Bird Corp drilled that well. It's called the Bird Houston 12-7. That was spud 8/2/87 and P&A in September of '87, and that was a dry hole. And then Bird Corp drilled a well in the southeast 11. There's 3 wells real close together. 2 of them are kind of colored green, and one's black and white. The northernmost well in the southeast 11 was drilled by Bird, and it was called the Bird Corman 11-16X. That was spud 8/17/85 and plugged 9/15/85. Then, of the 2 wells that are almost lying on top of each other, the northeastern one is the Bird Corman 11-6. That was drilled in June of '84. It was plugged in July of '86, and that was produced out of the Des Moines Admar. Made a little over 38,000 barrels of oil and produced 15,000 barrels of water. And then its twin, almost just to the southwest, is the Bird Corman 11-16-2X. That was spud in December 15, 1985. And that's still producing today. We own that well. It makes 3 to 5 barrels a day. It's cumulatively produced almost 38,000 barrels of oil, a little over 9,000 barrels of water. And it's, let's see, the TD on that is 7,850 feet. Those are all the ones. Oh, well, there was one more well up from section 11. It was the Fidelity well. It's the producer, or actually wasn't the producer, but it was there's 2 wells actually. One in the southeastmost part of the northwest quarter. Regal drilled that in October of '65, and then they plugged it in October, same month. That was dry hole. And the one just to the northwest of it, Fidelity. Fidelity drilled that well, and then they P&A'd it in October of '13. The total depth was 8,080 feet. It was a dry hole, but they did frack it and tried to produce it. And I guess we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But it had frack fluid that had to be disposed of.
And so they're the only active producing wells in the southeast of section 11?
That's right.
And is that, do you know who the owners are of that surface or mineral interest?
We are.
But who is the mineral?
That's the Cormans, excuse me.
Marty, I'll now direct your attention to what's been marked as the applicant's exhibit number 4. Could you explain what exhibit 4 represents?
Okay, Exhibit 4 is the Burlington Resources Bird 21-13H sonic log, borehole complicated sonic log.
And is that obtained from the records of the Nebraska Oil and
Yes,
Gas
it came
Conservation
off the
Commission?
Nebraska Oil and Gas Commission website.
Have you fully reviewed Exhibit 4?
Yes, I've looked at it pretty well.
What's the significance of the exhibit?
The significance is that there's two very porous sands at depth. The Sundance sand at a depth of 5,864 feet, it's 58 feet thick. And then the sand that we're talking about now, it's in an injection zone, is the spearfish sand. It's 6,100 feet. It's 84 feet thick. And both sands exhibit 30% porosity, which made it an ideal candidate for an injection zone.
And once again, this is the original log is filed with the Nebraska Oil and Gas Conservation Commission.
I'm sorry, say that again?
This is the original log is filed with the Oil
Oh,
and Gas
yes,
Commission.
yes, yes. This came straight off the website.
You would offer exhibit number 4.
No objection. You see,
The original application referred to potential for disposal into the Spearfish Formation and to the Sundance Formation for potential disposal. For which formation are you requesting approval at this time?
The lower of the two, the spearfish.
Would you describe the characteristics of the Spearfish Formation from a geological standpoint?
Well, in general, it's a sequence of shales, siltstones, and sands. And this happens to be just a very thick sand that's present that is just an ideal candidate for injection.
And why is it an ideal candidate?
Because it has 30% porosity. And
Would you explain what you mean by
How
porosity?
I can describe porosity is if you took a jar of marbles and stuck it under the sink and turned the water on, the water flows into the spaces between the marbles. And if it's 30% porosity, that means if you dumped all the water out and dumped the marbles out and put the water back in, it would fill 30% of the jar. So 30% of the pore space, 30% of the space in there is pore space, empty space, and that's where the fluid resides. And that's a very high porosity zone. It's unusually high.
Anything else you'd like to point out about that particular zone for injection at this time?
Well, I think my colleagues are going to talk more about it later, but I guess not.
Is it correct that pursuant to the rules and regulations of the Commission, and in particular Rule 002.03 of Chapter 4, that water sources are to be protected that are less than 3,000 parts per million total dissolved solids, or water sources that are or could be reasonably utilized as to domestic fresh water, unless those sources are exempted?
That's right.
Is there any further definition of what typically constitutes fresh water?
Any further definition? That's a good question. I think that the state describes it if it's less than 10,000 parts per million. It could be construed to be a freshwater source. So they could desalinate it. Now it's fresh enough that it could be used as a domestic source.
Is it correct that Terex Energy Corporation obtained a representative sample and analysis of the Spearfish Formation?
Yes.
And who was present during that testing, the withdrawal of those fluids for that testing?
I think Alan was.
Was there representatives of the Oil and Gas Commission also present?
yes. Stan Blue was there. No, excuse me, just Mike Sutton. Mike Sutton was there for that.
After what's been marked as applicant's exhibit number 5, is this the analysis that was obtained with regard to the Spearfish Formation?
That's the one we sent in, yes.
We better let Marty answer.
Yes. Yeah, yes, it is. It shows, yes.
Is there any significance, what is the significance of this as far as classification of the spearfish as either freshwater or non-freshwater?
Well, it's not fresh water. The total dissolved solids were reported to be 21,200 parts per million, which is well above the 10,000 freshwater limitation.
over twice.
Over twice, yes.
We would offer exhibit number 5.
Objection, Mr. Commissioner? No objection. You'd like a copy? I would re-offer exhibit number 5 again, now that I've disseminated it.
Received.
To your knowledge, Marty, did the Nebraska Oil and Gas Conservation staff of its own volition and authority also obtain an additional analysis and sample of the spearfish formation?
Yes, they did.
Was that obtained at the same time and place as the analysis which you obtained?
I believe it was.
To your knowledge, was the analysis obtained by the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission consistent with the results as shown in exhibit number 6?
Yes, yes, they're identical.
What is the actual depth of the spearfish formation as compared to the Sundance formation?
The spearfish sand is at 6,100 feet. The bottom of the Sundance is at 5922, so that'd be 178 feet different.
So you've selected the lower formation for disposal.
Yes.
Is there any reason to believe that there could be migration of fluids that would affect